Hey, this is William Naden, and I'm here to give you a crash course as quickly as I can and overview everything on how to record music. So, you're going to need 5 things. You're going to need 1, you're going to need you're going to need your instrument that you're playing on, you need your centerpiece. So your centerpiece is what everything is going to plug into, and then your centerpiece is going to plug into the 4th thing, which is your computer, and then number 5 is your DAW, which is on your computer. And that's how you're going to put the music together. And so for my centerpiece, I have a Babyface Pro. A Focusrite is a good centerpiece. That is a lot cheaper than a Babyface Pro, and it works just fine, just the same. And with those centerpieces, you're going to be able to enable things like phantom power. So when I say, hey, this needs phantom power, it's because, hey, that's the function on the centerpiece that you're going to need in order to record a condenser microphone, which is typically used for recording vocals. Okay, so I opened up a very first basic template, just brand new file for Sonar Cakewalk, and that is by BandLab. It is entirely for free from BandLab. I will post all links from any software I mentioned down in the description so that you can check it out for yourself. So this tutorial is primarily just going to be about Cakewalk, and it's, I'm a Windows user, which is kind of nuts, but a lot of musicians are Windows users, so hopefully this helps. Okay, so I have a couple tracks, as you can see. One is a normal audio track, and one is a MIDI track, and so ignore those for now. Down here I have my console where I can mix everything, so to change the levels and how loud things are or how quiet they are, and pan them left or right. And so I will return to those, but so let us just focus on how to record each instrument. So I'm going to go through how to record a keyboard, how to record a guitar, and how to record vocals. Okay, so that's the first 3 steps. So there are couple ways how to record. So for keyboard, you can record using the native sounds that are on your keyboard. And how you do that is you would use a line-in cable, and you see how my line-in cable has just one little ring right there. That's because this is a guitar jack. It's for guitars. Most line cables will have like 2 ringlets, as you see here, which you might want to get if you're recording using your keyboard. And so you can do it that way, or what I like to do is, because all I have is a MIDI controller. There's no native sounds on my keyboard. This is just a MIDI controller, so all my sounds are going to be digital. They're all going to be on here. So I will open up an instrument, and I'll do this drop down menu, and I'll select which instrument. Now you can download different VSTs. I know Sonar comes with a bunch of free stuff, but it's not that great. So what you can do is you can download a free VST, and the one I got is called Keyzone Classic. You go to this I'll link that as well. You download it, you install it, and then for me it showed up in uncategorized, and there we select the Keyzone Classic. So select that. In your input, I usually just leave all MIDI, anything to do with MIDI, I just leave it on Omni, and then I go ahead and create, and now it will create us a new track. Okay, so for now, why don't we just delete those tracks that we first started out with, so we just have the one, so there's no confusion. Okay, so in the keyboard, so in this virtual instrument, or what we call VSTs, there's different presets, and for this one it is, you use different pianos. They have a grand piano, you have a nice electric piano. It sounds great, and so here we can get some basic things right away. And that is one method of recording your keyboard. And I will just record something really quickly. So just as a concept, when recording, the very first important thing to know when you very first start recording, hopefully you've written a song, and there's a lot of other great tutorials out there that is just things to think about when writing a song, but hopefully you've written it. For this video, I'm just going to make up stuff on the spot, and I'm going to, I have some ideas in my head, like 9 chords. Great. And so what I can do is I can just kind of imagine the song in my head, like start over. Okay, great. So I can go into project up here and hit insert tempo change, and here I can tap the tempo, what I think, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So great, 95 tempo, let's go with that. Now you can always change your mind, you can always change the tempo, but generally when you decide on a tempo, you kind of want to stick to it, because then you're just going to start adding more and more tracks and record more stuff, and it's going to be harder to change the tempo when you have built more stuff, because then you're going to have to record, re-record what you've already recorded. So that works a little differently with MIDI, and I'll tell you some bonuses or benefits of recording with MIDI. So we're just going to record it for now and see what happens. So we arm it for recording, we hit the arm record, and here we go. 2, 3, 4. Now, as you can see, I did make a mistake, but that is easily fixable. So here I can select the track, I can open up the clip. I don't recommend using quantize too much, but you can hit the hotkey Q for quantize. I'm just going to change it to 1/8 real quick here so that it just snaps to what I want. I'm going to delete this mistake. Just going to drag these over to the right spot. Going to make the notes a little longer. Great. And so in the piano roll, you can do lots of different things. You can input the notes yourself directly, so you don't even have to use the keyboard itself. You can just click it with the mouse what note you want. You can drag that note around, and then you can change the velocity of how quiet or loud you want the note to be. Typically, for my workflow, I do not like to just click things in, because it will sound robotic, and I want there to be a certain human element to the music. And so what this is good for is that you can correct little mistakes, like, oh, that one note's a little too loud, and I just want to change that one note instead of re-recording the entire take. And so this is a good way. Or maybe a note's not loud enough, or something's out of time, and so you can just make small little corrections, small little changes. But generally speaking, if you want a good performance, then you would probably be better off just re-recording it. So that is one way on how to record your keyboard. Another way, which I can't show you right now because I don't have a keyboard that has native sounds on it. Another way is to use an audio track, using the line ins and outs. And so on your keyboard, kind of like with the guitar, it has, it has like a place to plug in, right? You plug that in, and maybe your keyboard has two, a left and a right. So you want to plug both of those in, and then those will plug into your Focusrite or your centerpiece, whichever your centerpiece might be. Those will plug in there. Now, for something like, you have to pay attention to what keyboard you're using. So for instance, like this Kawaii keyboard, it has EQ settings. And so apparently you can optimize the EQ for, whether it's on a stand or whether the keyboard's on the table. And those are for the speaker for when you're just playing the keyboard normally. But if you're plugging it into something, you generally want to turn off those, disable the speaker EQ for optimum results, as it says here in this little document. And how you do that is you hold on the function and press F#6, or that's not F#, it's A#6. Okay, great. And so it just varies from instrument to instrument what's the best way to record. And so if you want to do it that way, great. But if you do it that way, you can't go into the piano roll, which is this area down here, and make those little corrections. What you'd have to do is you'd record kind of like how I record guitar. So let me open that up for you right now. So I'm gonna go to audio this time. I'm gonna select my input. Great, it's on the right one. I'm gonna create that. So now I have my input, and my input is going to my guitar, my line-in guitar, okay? I'm going to open up my Archetype Petrucci. It's my favorite guitar virtual amp. I could plug the guitar into an amplifier and the amplifier into the centerpiece, and I'll get into this in the third part, or I could put a microphone to the guitar amp. So you can use the microphone for anything. You can use it to record anything, and it's just as legitimate as using it with the EQ, or with the electronic digital versions of like amplifiers, right? But you need the right environment, right? You need things to be quiet and in order to capture the sound effectively. So I'm going to disable this for recording. I'm going to enable this guitar for recording now, and I'm going to just choose a quick preset here, and let's see, I'm going to select this preset. This is fine. All right, and also you can open up, I close and open things just as kind of like for clarity for myself, but you can always open them up by clicking either this icon for MIDI. If you're using MIDI, you can open up the MIDI thing right here. Or if it's in this effects little box, you can just double click that and it'll open up that. And there's lots of different settings for each virtual instrument. In general, it'd be the same settings that you would find in real life on a physical guitar amp or physical piano, all the different controls, right? All right, I'm gonna record something really quick. Okay, so now we have a little guitar thing, a little keyboard thing, and the song is starting to come together, and it's nice, it's wonderful. And here we can arm the recording. So this other little icon next to the recording, why I hit both of them, is that the one to the right is the input echo. So without the input echo, it's still armed for recording, but I can't hear it. I can't hear it back unless I record and then hit play, and then I can hear when I recorded, but I won't hear it with all the effects going on. So that's the input echo. It helps loop it back for me automatically. So now I can create a new track, and this time I'll select the input number 1 for my microphone. So all these inputs will relate to your centerpiece. It will relate to the physical inputs on your centerpiece. Okay, so for me, my line inputs is 3 and 4, and then my microphone inputs is 1 and 2. And so for the microphone, I want it to be 1, right? And then in the effects, I will maybe give it some reverb. Cakewalk comes with the default reverb, so put some reverb on it. It comes with presets as well, just like any virtual instrument does, more or less. It always comes with lots of different settings. So default is fine. Okay, so then I'll arm record, input echo, so now I can hear the reverb. Great, and now I hit record. All right, so I'll stop that, and now we got a little ditty, a little something. And if I want, to check the timing to see how well I perform, I can always hit the metronome during playback button above the metronome during record button. I mean, this song is not very on time, but you can turn those off and on if you want to hear the metronome during playback or recording or whatnot. And those are the basics on how to just quickly record something. Conversely, I don't have my acoustic guitar strings are broken at the moment, but again, you can just create. And here I'll show you really quick. I'll duplicate this track. So that next to this plus button where you add your tracks, there's a duplicate track, and so you just select which track you want to duplicate, and it's highlighted, and then you hit duplicate, and voila, it's the same track, it has all the same settings, all the same effects, right? And you can even do that for other things. You can do that for your keyboard, you can do it for your guitars, and well, this for recording, it has the reverb on it, great, and I can just play the physical instrument into the microphone, and that's the same difference. Obviously this won't have the amps, you won't be able to hear it, but if it was an acoustic guitar or a piano, great, that's perfectly fine. And so just the last thing I want to look at is when MIDI works a little differently than the normal analog line in, line out. For my MIDI controller, it's plugged into my computer with a USB cable. I think you can plug it into like a Focusrite with a USB cable as well. I could be wrong because I don't own one. Otherwise, I could plug in my keyboard into my centerpiece, and that would via MIDI cable, right? And that I think that would more or less do the same thing. And the tricky thing is when you create multiple tracks of like keyboard, right? Let's say I just want to duplicate the keyboard I already have, right? Whichever one I have selected, right? Like which one I see, I every time I click, it highlights a different one, right? So I click this second one, now it's highlighted. Click this first one, it's highlighted, right? It'll change the input echo, because the input echo is set to auto. Whichever one selected, it'll automatically just go to. I can turn that off, but then it'll just return back on. And so I like it. It's a good function because the purpose of it is that like I'm playing here, right? And then I want to switch this one and see how it sounds. It's the same sound because again, it's duplicated. So it's all the same qualities, all the same settings, right? So I open up the second one and maybe I want to change it to like normal key zone piano, right? Ooh, I don't like that piano so much, but it's okay. And I arm this for recording, right? And I hit record. All right. So usually, and then you can layer it, have different layers, and hopefully you make better music than this. This is not very good. And down here now, I want to get into very quickly. There's basically two main components to this console view down below, and that is your levels. So that's using these faders, these kind of go up and down, and then as well as your panning, which go left or right. And so, as you can imagine, the levels, the faders control the volume, and you can think of it more creatively as in like, not that things are loud or quiet, is in that what do you want at the forefront of your song, and then you will have those a little higher than the other things, as well as you want to make more space. So maybe you want to pan the guitar, I want to pan the guitar to the left, I want the vocals in the middle, maybe I have the two keyboards from side to side, so then when I hit playback, you can create space, and it's more interesting. And remember, it's not about what you play, it's in how you play it. So if you play things very hard, you're not going to make it sound soft by turning the levels down. It's going to, yes, be louder decibel wise, but it's going to still sound as if you're pounding on them, even though it's very distant, right? So if you play the guitar very lightly, and then you turn it really high because no, it needs to be loud guitars. Well, again, it's not in what you play, it's how you play what you play. So just something to think about for mixing, because generally you'll mix while you record, and then you'll build this track and you'll build big things and it'll be beautiful, it'll be great. So I hope this is like a good crash course, and I'm sure there's lots of questions. So if you want more specific things or you're stuck on something, let me know and I can make a new tutorial, because I just figured out how to make tutorials. And so let's go. All right. So I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.